awaken him. How will he find us when he comes?
Awake and ready.
And when he asks us to dedicate our lives ever more perfectly to him, how will he find us?
Awake and ready.
Divine Mother,
Divine Mother,
Heavenly Father,
Heavenly Father,
friend, beloved God,
friend, beloved God,
great Master,
great Master,
Jesus Christ,
Jesus Christ,
Babaji Krishna,
Babaji Krishna,
Lahiri Mahashaya,
Lahiri Mahashaya,
Swami Shri Yukteswar,
Swami Shri Yukteswar,
Paramahansa Yogananda,
Paramahansa Yogananda,
saints of all religions,
saints of all religions,
we humbly and lovingly bow before thee.
we humbly and lovingly bow before thee.
Help us
Help us
in our quest
in our quest
to return home to thee.
to return to thee.
Help us to use our willpower,
Help us to use our willpower,
our feeling,
our feeling,
our intelligence, to unite ourselves
to unite ourselves
with your infinite spirit
with your infinite Spirit,
and make us your channels
and make us your channels,
so we can share your divine blessings
so we can share your divine blessings
with all whom we meet.
with all whom we meet.
Om. Peace.
Peace. Amen.
Please be seated.
It's great to be back and see everyone.
Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed who thirst for righteousness, for they shall be satisfied. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, they shall be called the children of God. Blessed those reviled for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven.
Continue to meditate. As you listen to these words on our affirmation for this week, power. Power is an aspect of God. Human beings often associate the word power with ruthless ambition and dominance over others. But it is a misdirection of power to exert it over others for selfish ends, and a misuse of it to exert it without care for their well-being. Rightly understood, power is the ability to command our own energies, above all for our own transcendence, but also for the good of others. Such power is important for spiritual growth. Many people imagine that spiritual development is manifested as a sort of saccharine sweetness. The saints, however, are people of enormous inner power, before which others often tremble. Yet theirs is a power only for good. Its roots lie buried in the soil of pure love. Let's affirm together first in a strong voice. Mine is the power of the universe.
Mine is the power of the universe.
Channeled for my own awakening.
Channeled for my own awakening.
And the awakening of other sleeping souls.
And the awakening of other sleeping souls.
Taking it a little softer. Mine is the power of the universe.
Mine is the power of the universe.
Channeled for my own awakening.
Channeled for my own awakening.
And the awakening of other sleeping souls.
And the awakening of other sleeping souls.
And now in a whisper, taking it even deeper inside. Mine is the power of the universe.
Mine is the power of the universe.
Channeled for my own awakening. And the awakening of other sleeping souls. And now mentally broadcasting it with the deepest focus from the spiritual eye. Mine is the power of the universe, channeled for my own awakening and the awakening of other sleeping souls. And please pray silently with me. Help me to feel that thy power runs through my veins, courses through my thoughts, and sets my noble feelings afire with love for thee. Om. Peace. Amen. Good morning, friends.
Good morning.
Welcome to our Sunday service. I know everybody here, but for anyone new online, I'm Dharmadevi and this is Narayan, and we are very happy to be back home after 3 weeks in our Assisi community in Italy. This is Rays of the One Light, weekly commentaries on the Bible and Bhagavad Gita by Swami Ananda. Ego, friend or foe. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. Jesus Christ begins his Beatitudes with the words, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." To be poor in spirit in such a way as to merit the kingdom of heaven doesn't mean to be poor-spirited. Rather, it means to see oneself as owning nothing, since all belongs to God, for all is a manifestation of his consciousness. St. John of the Cross wrote, "If you would own everything, seek to own nothing." That which the ego relinquishes, offering it up to soul consciousness, is reclaimed forever in cosmic consciousness. Nothing is ever lost. Paramahansa Yogananda tells the story in Autobiography of a Yogi of the levitating saint, Baduri Mahashaya. "Master," said a disciple of this saint once ardently, "you are wonderful. You have renounced riches and comforts to seek God and teach us wisdom." It was well known that Baduri Mahashaya had forsaken great family wealth in his early childhood when single-mindedly he entered the yogic path. "You are reversing the case." The saint's face held mild rebuke. "I have left a few paltry rupees, a few petty pleasures, for a cosmic empire of endless bliss. How then have I denied myself anything? I know the joy of sharing the treasure. Is that a sacrifice? The short-sighted worldly folk are verily the real renunciates. They relinquish an unparalleled divine possession for a poor handful of earthly toys. The Bhagavad Gita in the 3rd chapter states, all things are everywhere by nature wrought in interaction of the qualities. The fool, cheated by self, thinks, this I did, and that I wrought. But ah, thou strong-armed prince, a better lessoned mind, knowing the play of visible things within the world of sense, and how the qualities must qualify, standeth aloof even from his acts. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind.
Good morning. I'm just moseying. This to you. Good trade. We are so happy to be back. Your seat. Yeah. There's that too. Yeah. I'm going to share from Whispers from Eternity. Not everyone may know this is Yogananda's book of prayer demands. And this one is, teach me to perform every work only to please thee. Father, teach me to perform all my work only to please thee. Let me feel thee as the electricity of life, moving the machinery of my bones, nerves, and muscles. In every heartthrob, every breath, every burst of vital activity, teach me to feel thy power. As Dharmadevi said, we had this beautiful trip to Ananda, which we'll share after service for those who can stay with some pictures. There's an incredible community there of beautiful souls, and it's set in the Umbrian hills, so it's sort of these rolling hills, and you'll see big bales of hay, and then you come across the little gem in Umbria, Assisi, right? This city which is seemingly timeless, and you feel the presence of St. Francis there very palpably. I mean, it's a very tangible presence. I was very awestruck that way. And we had a funny moment, because some of you may know there's a man named Yogindra. He's an Italian man, and he's been serving there. He's a beautiful soul. He's this bright smile. He radiates love and light. And we were having tea with him and his wife, and they were just sharing, and somehow we got talking about, what do you eat? Good morning, Rahul. There's seats up here anywhere. And as he talked, what do you have for breakfast? And he said, well, I have and he has a little, he speaks English, but anyone that's Italian that speaks English, it's more lyrical, right? If you hear an Italian say, the American say, okay. But the Italian is much better. It's okay. Okay. Happy. Everything is, it's more vowels, right? Which is, Swami actually said, it's a more heart-centered culture, and you feel that. But anyway, he was saying, yes, I have the green tea for breakfast, and then I have and the little cereal, and the hay. And I was like, wait, the hay? And I had seen all these big bales of hay. So I thought, well, maybe some people in the CC do eat hay. And then his wife, after a few moments, she goes, oh, no, you mean the whey. Whey protein. Right? Whey protein. So, but this is this topic, is the ego our friend or is it our foe? It's like Swami has told us, it's a both end, right? We need to have a strong ego to actually get onto the spiritual path in the first place, right? To realize that we want to transcend the ego. That's why they're in the scriptures of India, in the Vedas. Do you know that there's actually a number of Vedas for acquiring wealth, for getting a loved one, relationship, all these different things. The Indian mindset is, well, if you have that desire, it's better actually in some ways to fulfill it, so that then you realize that that's actually not what you really want, right? So it's Divine Mother is trying to help us to understand, like the affirmation is saying, that we all have a God-given power. Mine is the power of the universe. And like, really? You ever think about the Bhagavad Gita? Remember, it's Arjuna who represents us, the devotee, and Krishna who represents the soul or God incarnate. And how does it start, right? Arjuna is in despair. I can't fight, right? He's become a complete limp noodle, whatever, wet noodle. I can't do it. And what is Krishna calling him? Oh, mighty armed Arjuna, right? Oh, conqueror of foes. And he's like, oh no, I can't. But it's true, right? We do have this divine power, and so we discount it. We shortchange ourselves through the wrong use of our ego. And there's a couple of ways that the ego manifests, right? It can manifest, it's two sides of one coin. Inferiority complex and superiority complex. They're both a manifestation of ego. And so we need to sometimes, many times, and all the time, call on that divine power, right? But it's, as Master said, it's our own, but God-given power. And not to forget that. As soon as I had this injury, I remembered that. It's your own, but it's your God-given power, right? We don't know, like Master said, why you walk on the grass. The grass doesn't walk on you. There's some great mystery. What is it? Is it to go and find it and look for the answers outside? Or is it to turn within and look, like we say every week in the festival, to the source of all power? If you would conquer that fear and that weakness, you have to look to the source of that power. And as we say, well, where is it? And of course, the great ones are saying, it's within you. It's within us. Mine is the power of the universe, channeled for my own awakening and the awakening of other true thirsty souls. I've been meditating. Maybe it's because we were in a CC, in a Catholic country, where you see crosses and this kind of symbology everywhere. But I've been thinking, Master said of the cross that the vertical line of the cross is your relationship with God, right? That's your inner communion with the infinite. And that horizontal cross is that desire to share. And that's actually, isn't that his prayer? He said, the highest prayer. And Master's kind of funny because he said there's two highest prayers, but one of those highest prayers, he said, is give me yourself, that I may give thee to all. Isn't that a beautiful prayer? That's a great use of our ego. It's saying, well, you want it, but you want it so that you can share it. You don't want it so you can hoard it. Nobody wants that, right? Why are the biggest sites are the sharing sites, Facebook and all of this. It's because as we know that when we share a joy, it becomes a joy doubled, right? It becomes a joy tripled. It becomes a joy infinite. So give me thyself that I may give thee to all. This is a very important and powerful prayer and way to use and right use of our ego. And so if we can realize that we always have that choice to say, well, I want that. I want this divine energy. I want this abundance, right? Not for myself, but to share it. And it's not, I mean, Master is not, the Divine Mother doesn't want us to be just stupid. Right? We've got these gifts. We have willpower. We have common sense. We have creativity, initiative. He wants us to use it. Right? So to use it, but to use it so that we share. That's why people that have that expansive mindset, you see that they can actually draw more and more abundance and more creativity to themselves when they're sharing it with others. And it becomes a very powerful divine magnet. So to use our ego in this way is important and essential. That other prayer, highest prayer, Master said, many of us, we know that prayer. I will reason. I will. I will act. But guide thou my reason, will, and activity to the right path and everything. So you use that power. You see, it's the perfect... He's giving us this balance. It's not saying, oh, like when people were talking about karma, Master said, I'm sick of people talking about karma. Right? He's just tired of it because they were using it as an excuse. Not that. He was saying that you have that power within you. That's partly why he liked the West and the American spirit, one of the positive attributes of America, right? That we need to hold on to and bring to the forefront. Eventually, why not now? Right? This is a beautiful American spirit. Why not? Why not right now? So you can use your willpower to say, yes, I will think. I'll use my common sense. I'll use my willpower. I'll use my feeling nature. I'll use everything you've given me, Lord, but I want it to be united to your will. Have you ever thought? I've been thinking, well, what is that will of God? Right? Master told us that will is that desire plus the energy directed towards fulfillment. Well, his will is that he's holding this creation in place so that we can return to him. So that we can not just return to him, but as we're receiving that abundance, as we're receiving that divine energy, that we can also channel it and share it with others. This was Swami Kriyananda's spirit. This is the spirit of Ananda. Right? It's the hallmark of Ananda. It's sharing. It's openness. It's divine friendship. It's not a church. It's the strip mall of all religions. And we get there through the grace of God and Guru and Divine Mother. You see, but we have to put out our self-effort, which then helps to unite us. It's like casting the sail, which catches that wind of divine grace. There's a beautiful, there's a woman named Irene. Some of you know her at Ananda Village. She's lived there a long time, and she had a beautiful mother that passed away recently, Ophelia. She was a short Mexican.
Not sure.
Maybe not. No, I guess I'm thinking of I'm standing.
You're right.
Yeah, it's about my height. But Ophelia had this beautiful faith. She just had this just childlike spirit. There was one time that Devi and others were with her. They were doing some service work for an orphanage in Mexico, and they were just driving in a bus, and they just heard Ophelia in the back of the bus. Isn't God terrific? She just had this joy. Like she just had this isn't God great? The greatness of God, the joy of God. She just had that childlike faith and simplicity. Blessed are the pure in heart, right? For they shall see God. She had that purity of heart. And there was this time, though, that the reason I brought her up, I will reason, I will will, I will act. She used to say to her daughter, to Irene, right? For God, with God, through the grace of God. And she said, well, this is when Irene would say, Mom, how do I know what to do? And she said, if you do it for God, with God, through the grace of God, everything will turn out right. And so there was this other trip, this other time that Irene and her mother, Ophelia, were in Mexico. And she saw this beautiful Madonna, about taller than me. Almost, Ophelia was here and the Madonna wasn't too much smaller than hers. It was pretty big. I mean, she could carry it, but it was quite big. And so she said, I'm going to bring the Divine Mother back home. She lived in Sacramento. And so she carried the Divine Mother, in the airport. She's carrying this Madonna. And Irene said, Mom, well, you can't just carry that on the plane. And she said, with God, for God, through the grace of God. It will be all right. And so they got to the gate, and you know how that scene is, and the checkout, the clerks are there, and the flight attendants. And first thing, this woman sees the Madonna, and she says, oh, what a beautiful statue. And Ophelia said, yes, isn't it beautiful? And she just got caught in that contagious joy, in the beauty, right, of Divine Mother. And they didn't even ask her. And so she carried it on the plane, and then the flight attendants were holding it, and they passed it around. So Divine Mother made darshan to all the flight attendants on this plane. So when you do it with God, for God, through the grace of God, when you say, oh Lord, give me yourself, that I may give thee to all. That is a good, old, honest prayer. But remember, too, though, in order to give, we first have to receive. Just like the airplane, they tell you, when you go on there, when there's no oxygen, you put the oxygen mask on yourself first, before you put it on your neighbors. Right? Get into that pure stream of God's grace. And the only way that can happen is to meditate. And not just meditation. Don't think of it as you're doing these techniques. Of course, they're helpful, and we teach the path of Kriya Yoga and this science of meditation. But feel more that it's inner communion, that it's with God. It's for God. It is through the grace of God that you actually receive those divine blessings. And then when you channel that, when you feel that presence, when you can offer your heart again and again through gratitude for God's presence, then more is given to you. And then you can take that and you can share it. And when you feel, and we all feel it at times, right? That we feel like you're beat up by life. That you're like a 15-round fight, right? You've been smacked left, right, and center. But when you cling to her and you say, no more, Divine Mother. I've been trying to do it on my own. All too long, I've been trying to do it. And I've made a mess of it. No more. Now I do it with you. I do it for you. I do it through your grace. And whatever you give to me, I receive it and I offer it back to you, because none of it was ever mine in the first place. And what do we say at the end of this song that we're going to sing? Now our souls call you, Mother. Oh, make us thy own. Let's make that call together.